You ever been mid-conversation, smiling, nodding, feeling like you're on fire? Then your brain hits a wall. Silence. Not the peaceful kind, the awkward, soul-sucking kind that makes you wish you could melt into your chair and become one with the floor. We've all been there, talking to someone you admire, or maybe someone cute, or just trying to survive small talk at a work event, and suddenly you blank out. You're like, yeah. And the other person? Politely waiting, internally judging, externally smiling. Painful. But here's the wild part. You're not boring. You're not broken. And no, you don't need to memorize 500 conversation starters to be interesting. You just need to unlock the way your brain actually works when you speak. Talking isn't about having things to say. It's about knowing how to keep the energy alive even when your mind goes quiet. Okay, so why does our brain betray us in the middle of a sentence? Why do we feel like we can write novels in our head but can't string a sentence together when it counts? It's not because you're uninteresting. And it's definitely not because you don't have anything to say. It's either you're overthinking every word, you're afraid of awkward pauses, you're too focused on being impressive, or you don't know how to turn everyday thoughts into engaging conversations. Let me ask you something. When's the last time someone asked you a question and genuinely cared about your answer? Not the usual polite, "How are you?" That's more of a greeting than a question. I mean, the kind of question that actually stops you, makes you think, and makes you feel seen. The kind that makes you say, "Whoa, no one's asked me that before." That right there is the power of curiosity. Here's the key. Don't ask questions just to fill awkward silence. Ask questions to open doors. Let's take an example. Asking someone, "What do you do?" is so overused, it might as well be a conversation dead end. Unless you're both obsessed with your jobs, it rarely leads anywhere interesting. Now compare that with, what's something you've been really into lately that no one expects? That question feels fresh, it's personal. It invites the other person to share something real. It often leads to stories, weird hobbies, unexpected twists, things that spark actual connection. Here's a tool you can use right away. Create curiosity loops. These are open-ended follow-up questions that act like little mental cliffhangers. They keep the conversation going and make people want to share more. For example, what made you want to do that? What happened next? These aren't just questions, they're momentum boosters. They guide the conversation deeper and show you're genuinely listening. And when people feel heard, they'll naturally open up. Often, they'll turn the curiosity around and want to hear your side too. Because here's the magic. Curiosity is contagious. When you're genuinely interested, people feel it, and they'll respond with the same energy. So next time you're talking to someone, don't worry about what to say next. Just stay curious, ask better questions, and listen like you actually care. That's how conversations become memorable. That's how you connect. All right, confession time. There was a moment when I survived an entire 15-minute conversation by saying almost nothing. Sounds unbelievable, but I did it using a simple trick called the echo technique. It's honestly one of the easiest and most effective ways to keep a conversation going, especially when you don't know what to say next. Here's how it works. When someone says something, you just repeat the last few words they said, almost like a question, but with a curious tone. That's it. For example, if they say, "I went skydiving last weekend," you simply respond with, "Skydiving last weekend?" and let your tone invite more explanation. They dive back into their story, elaborate even more, and you barely have to lift a finger. This technique works for a few key reasons. First, it shows that you're paying attention. People love to feel heard. Second, it subtly encourages them to open up more because you're giving them permission to keep talking. Third, it buys you time to think, which is incredibly helpful if you're unsure of what to say next. And finally, it keeps the flow natural. You're not jumping in with random questions or switching. You're simply nudging the story forward. You can echo their words, their tone, or even their emotion. If they sound excited, reflect that back. If they sound unsure, mirror that curiosity. Another method is the story swap method. Now, you don't need crazy stories to be a good storyteller. You just need small moments told with feeling. Like,
I accidentally wore two different shoes to school once. No one noticed, except my crush.
small moments, big connection. The story swap method is about sharing a relatable mini story and then inviting theirs. Example,
The first time I tried sushi, I thought wasabi was avocado. Immediate regret. What about you? Any food fails?
now you're not just making conversation, you're trading experiences. It becomes playful, honest, and memorable. Your stories don't need to be impressive, they just need to be felt. The next method is called the yes and rule. And no, it doesn't mean you have to agree with everything. It means you build on what's already there. Let me show you what I mean. Let's say someone says,
I've been binge watching old detective shows lately.
you could say,
Yes, and I feel like every episode ends with a plot twist that makes me question my own detective skills.
it's fun, it's playful, and it works in any kind of conversation, from goofy to deep. You're not just responding, you're co-creating. Even in serious convos, yes and is powerful.
I've been feeling kind of burnt out lately. Yeah, I've been there. And sometimes even small changes like going outside or talking it out help more than we expect.
You're saying, I hear you, I'm with you, let's keep going. That's how you stop the awkward dead ends and start flowing like a pro. Let's talk about something that can instantly make your conversations deeper, more meaningful, and actually enjoyable. It's called the iceberg effect. Most people keep things at the surface. How's your day? Crazy weather, right? And then silence. These are fine for quick check-ins, but they don't build connection. They don't leave anyone feeling seen or remembered. Here's where the iceberg effect comes in. Every topic someone brings is the iceberg in full. I'm a teacher. I've been working a lot. That's just the tip of the iceberg. What you see is maybe 10% of what's really there. Beneath the surface, that's where all the good stuff is hiding. Their stories, struggles, joy. Your job is simple. Go one layer deeper. So instead of stopping at, oh, cool, you're a teacher, you ask, what's something your students have taught you? Boom. Now you're not just asking what they do, you're asking what they feel. You're inviting a moment of reflection. That's memorable. You don't have to force the conversation to move. It flows naturally because you're exploring what matters to them. Let me tell you something that might surprise you. The most magnetic, unforgettable people in conversations, they're not the loudest. They're not the ones telling the wildest stories or making everyone laugh nonstop. In fact, great conversationalists, they actually talk less. Seriously, that's the magic of the 70-30 rule. This rule says in any good conversation, aim to let the other person talk 70% of the time. You only need to carry about 30%. And no, that doesn't mean you just nod silently and hope they take over. It means you guide the conversation with curiosity. You invite them to speak. You give them the space to explore their thoughts, and you listen fully. Now think about it. Who are the people you enjoy talking to the most? It's probably not the ones who dominate every conversation with monologues or constantly turn the topic back to themselves. It's the ones who let you finish a thought without jumping in. Ask things like, tell me more about that, or how did that feel? All you need to do is be present, curious, and engaged. Because the truth is, people love to talk about what matters to them. They just need someone to care enough to ask, and then actually listen to the answer. All right, let's get into something that's subtle, but so powerful when it comes to having conversations that actually stick with people. It's called emotional tagging, and here's the simple truth behind it. Facts don't stick. Feelings do. Think about it. People won't always remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel. That's the key to being memorable in conversations. And you don't have to be dramatic or over the top to do it. You just need to tag your words with a little emotion. Let me show you what I mean. Don't just say, I had to give a presentation at work. Say, I had to give a presentation at work, and I was sweating bullets, but I pulled through. Boom! Now I'm with you. I feel the nerves. I feel the relief. I'm invested. That's all emotional tagging. It's taking a neutral statement and adding a quick emotional layer. And it doesn't have to be deep or heavy. They give people a window into how your experience felt, not just what happened. And here's why this matters. When you share how something made you feel, people don't just hear the words, they relate. The last technique I want to share with you is the curl superpower. This is when you bring something up later in the convo that the other person said earlier. Let's say 20 minutes ago, they mentioned loving tea, then you casually say, so next time we meet, I'm bringing a cup of that green jasmine tea you swear by. That's a callback. Or reminiscing. Or maybe earlier they told a story about their dog. Later you say, that sounds like something your dog would totally photobomb. Why does this matter? Because it proves you were really listening. And in a world full of distractions, being remembered feels like a gift. Callbacks make conversations feel connected, full circle, and personalized. You can use them in texts too. Hope today's meeting goes better than Monday's disaster. It's a fun, simple way to build trust, humor, and flow. Callbacks turn casual convos into lasting impressions. And guess what? You don't have to master all technique today. Just try one, then another. Build them like muscles. And soon, conversations won't feel like a performance. You'll stop fearing awkward silence and start realizing you've always had something to say. You just didn't know how to let it flow. So if this helped you, let me know in the comments.